All right, and welcome back to show 4 of the Jimmy T podcast here in All Night Study at OSI Podcasts through UCF. And just a quick little blurb about OSI Podcasts. If you have seen these episodes and are interested in creating and producing content just like this, feel free to check out the link below for the application so you can fill out as a UCF student that you're able to come in here in the studio and create content just like we are. And the link will be there, and you can watch an awesome video that our producer Leland made and get in on the fun. And I'm back here as always with my co-host Ogarth.
What's up, everybody?
How are you doing this week?
It's been a stressful week, to say the least.
It has been a stressful week, and for those of you that are not in the know or were under a rock the past week, Florida and from a good part of the country as well was affected by Hurricane Matthew, which to a larger extent, the most important extent, was that the loss of life, which did happen, as about 15 reported right now in the United States, and well over 800 closing in on 900 in Haiti. And we will post a link to some charities like the Red Cross that if you feel so compelled to donate to be able to aid in that relief, then you can do so.
Yeah, make sure to donate. We'll put the link right here.
Yeah, it's right there. Just click on it. And to a lesser extent, because life is more important than sports, it was felt in the sports world as well, the effect of Hurricane Matthew. And for most directly to us, it ended up causing the cancellation, postponement, and rescheduling of the UCF Tulane game, which was supposed to be played this past Friday, but then has now been moved to November 5th, which was the convenient bye week that Tulane and UCF both had.
So they both got moved. We both had the same bye week, so that's ended up being nice. But the UF-LSU game.
Yes, which actually did come into, actually affected the show a little bit more than we thought. And because it turns out it was would have been a differing point of our picks to see who could have been the definite winner, even though we will get into more of who was the actual winner for this week later in the show. But it was, and that is an issue that has continued to come up with that game in particular about how they're going to reschedule it.
Yeah, most definitely. Florida didn't want to go to LSU to play, and I don't see why they didn't if they were so much better.
Yeah.
But no reschedule has been made yet, so we'll see about that game.
Yeah, and there's a lot of conflicting issues with that, as both teams have. I described them to you pre-show as cupcakes, where it's easy teams that they have paid to come play at their respective stadiums, and that LSU has, I think, rejected the offer that Florida had to say, hey, look, let's just pay these teams off. You come and we play this game, as the SEC commissioner did say during the Tennessee-Texas A&M game that this game needs to be played, because in the grand scheme of things for the SEC conference, that it can have a big effect, because these are two, even though like the teams have looked like they're like a little bit weaker this year, they still have a big effect on tiebreakers and whatnot in the conference. And it'll be interesting to see, it will be a recurring and developing story as it does go on through the next coming weeks, as they do need to figure out when that's going to be played. But for UCF, it does give them an early bye week in a sense, which means that as a football fan, we just get them for the rest of the games now. No more weeks off, which will be nice. Because I know this week for Hurricane Matthew, a lot of us were kind of just like running around freaking out as to being able to get stuff done.
Yeah, gas prices were up.
Oh, yes. Well, I was at 7-Eleven on Wednesday, like right after they announced that campus was going to be closed for the 2 days and everything. Classes were going to be canceled, no online work and all that stuff. A lot of awesome from the sense of like not having work due, not awesome from the loss of learning time.
Yeah.
But I was pumping gas at 7-Eleven. Like they ran out of gas, and they had to they had been refilled, but I was standing there for about 15 minutes. I was only able to pump $3 of gas into my car.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it was just absolutely nuts, and there were gas was out everywhere, and it has probably led to, I haven't tried to get gas because I was able to fill up on Thursday, I'm pretty certain, in the morning. I was able to fill up before what we thought was going to be the worst of the hurricane. Thankfully, it ended up later in the night, around 11, the forecast was that it shifted east enough that Central Florida, at least, was only affected in the sense of some rain and some wind.
Yeah, water everywhere. It was like out at Publix, Walmart, bread.
Yeah, Publix, the shelves were just complete,
Bare.
like just ravaged, just empty.
Yeah, I was like, my mom was like, go buy water. I went to the weight section, brought all the weights. I was like, I'm gonna gain 10 pounds this week. This week, I brought protein,
Oh,
everything
goodness.
you need, the manual shaker,
Yeah.
just in case the power went out, and all the weights you need. So this weekend was just,
Just getting swole, getting those gains, getting them. But like the after effects of the hurricane, there were some bent street signs, but I did get a picture. I'll send it to Leland so he can put it up.
Okay.
Was I took a picture outside of my apartment complex of that these two palm trees that were straight up before, they were just like bent, like sideways, like just like the whole tree just like looked like someone just went boom and just bent them out.
good.
It was nuts.
I heard like trees by towers were down.
Really, I
Yeah.
haven't gone over that far.
And there's debris in all the parking garage and
Oh
everything.
yeah, like I know it looked like just basically just someone ran around and just was shaking trees
Yeah.
and just, it was just all everywhere.
And the pool is horrible too. The pool boy is going to quit his job this weekend. I guarantee you.
Well, I was upset yesterday at my apartment complex that I wanted to go lift. And I was like, all right, like cool, I've been sitting inside for 2 days, like, all right, Saturday, I gave them some hours to like empty out the weight room, but it was locked. Cause they're trying to hold off because of the pool stuff.
Yeah.
And they need to have someone come and check it out to be like, hey, like it's clean now based off it, because Lord knows what the wind picks up and throws in there. So from a safety standpoint, I get it, but from wanting to go to the gym, I was like, I got dressed and went. I was all ready, had my music in, and it just wasn't doing it. But what we do have, we can talk about this week is, since we didn't have any play on the field for the Knights, we can talk about some of the off the field stuff they're doing
Yeah.
in recruiting, because that is a 24/7 thing that doesn't stop. Recruiting is all year, and it was interesting to see as I took this chance, as Leland brought it up that we wanted to talk about this today, was that kind of more familiarize myself with what the heck's going on with our recruiting, because as you get busy in all the other aspects of just life and doing school and everything, to then kind of look into like what else is going on, because this isn't something that's always like as heavily talked about, because as we've alluded to in past episodes, as UCF is kind of an aspiring big time program, the recruiting isn't going to be as advertised as a lot of fans would probably prefer it to be.
Yeah, most definitely. But with wins come good recruits. So.
Yep, and that's something that it even looks like is that UCF has quite a few recruits that are going to be coming out to the homecoming game this week, because as it is homecoming week.
Yeah, it is homecoming.
go to all your events this week if you got
Yeah.
tickets. But to the homecoming game on Saturday against Temple, that they have like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that they think like a couple others. So I have like 6, 7 recruits like out there for the game. They said this is a big thing for these recruits to be able to see like, hey, a big win and these big home wins, to see these great home environments and everything, just to like get what it would be like to be a Knight and kind of solidify them wanting to come here.
Yeah, most definitely. More recruits that come through is the better for our program, and then we have more recruits with higher stars too. That's the big thing. that's
Yeah.
coming. So
Yeah,
the better
as of
recruits.
everyone that's committed so far, they are all 3 stars, which are solid. It's as if we keep doing better this year, you're gonna see a 4-star or something like that pop up, because I know one of the quarterbacks that is coming to visit. He actually decommitted from Miami, and they're kind of like, hey, you wanna
He
go
saw
to
he
UCF?
saw the game last
Yeah,
week. He knew
yeah.
what was happening.
I believe his name is Chris Henderson Jr., and he was offered by Marshall and UCF as well after decommitting from Miami.
So that's big right there.
Yeah,
That's
so
big.
it was like definitely, because these talented teams like a Miami, who has had a resurgence and has done a lot better this year. We'll talk about that game later. And just like these teams, they bring in a lot of talent. So if we're able to just kind of slowly start to pick off some of the guys that aren't going to necessarily start right away, as I talked about last week or the other week, I can't remember. But as we started talking about this, it's going to slowly start getting more and more people to come here and realize like, oh goodness, I can come here and play and start and kind of show off my talents if I want to continue on to go to the NFL, as we have had a lot of NFL talented players.
Most definitely. So do you think we need more Miltons?
More Miltons? No, we don't need more Miltons. We could get a Marcus Mariota,
Yeah.
get a Blake Bortles, then sure, let's get more of those. But as for Milton, Let's see if we want to get more Miltons. Maybe one Milton's enough for at least me. We can at least wait. And as I was talking about all this recruiting stuff and how the impact that it's had immediately and how this has changed so far, as I was asked whether or not I believe Frost is a big part of this, and I'm like 110%. Because it's interesting in college football that these coaches have such an impact on the program. Like a Jim Harbaugh, he's been huge at Michigan.
Yeah.
Where he's led a complete change in 2 years. It's his second year right now, and he's already had such an impact on that program that they are playing at a top 5 level, as they did win 78 to nothing.
78 to 0.
Yeah. Yes, just an insane talent level from a team that was struggling to make bowl games the year before he came. So it's just a lot of interesting things to see the impact coaches can have, and I think obviously the Harbaugh's a little different beast in that sense. I've told you how much I like Harbaugh. But Frost has had a similar effect in that it's brought a lot of talented players this way so far. Milton, we've had Adrian Killings, a lot of these freshmen that have come in and have played pretty well, that you're going to start to get more of those as a coach coming from a successful program in Oregon.
Yeah.
Where you're able to call plays and help build up players like Marcus Mariota to have a hand in their development to show, hey, look what I was able to do with this guy and look where he's at right now. If you want to do this and be a part of this,
then come here.
Come to UCF. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Sorry, John.
And it'll be something interesting to see as it goes on, as it continues to see how UCF continues to do in the season. All right, and as always, we will run down the scores from the other UCF sporting events that did go on this week. And one of them that thankfully they were able to get out of town to be able to play this game was the men's soccer team, as they did travel to Memphis. Unfortunately, it was a loss for our soccer Knights. It was 3-2. After the Knights were able to score 2 quick goals in the first half, and Memphis was able to match with two goals of their own. Memphis was able to pull away with a goal in the second half to win 3-2. So our Knights are 3-6 on the year, and they are 1-2 in the AAC.
And likewise, the women's soccer team traveled to USF to complete the war on I-4 again. So that one was split with a 1-1 draw. So both teams ended up getting 3 points each, and it was a 1-1 split. So we had 16 shots to 12 shots on goal.
Goodness.
So
that's a busy game.
Yeah.
With shots. Goodness.
So, but it ended up in a draw.
Yeah,
1-1.
that is unfortunate, but hey, we still get points for the standings.
Yeah.
USF does play too, so they're going to have to get their points from the war on I-4.
So your women's soccer team is 6-5 and 1 on the year. One
Right.
coming from the draw.
Awesome. That's great. And then as the effects of Hurricane Matthew, as we did say earlier in the show, were felt all over the place, as what would have been a home game for the UCF volleyball Knights ended up having to be moved to USF in Tampa as they played Houston for American Athletic Conference play. But they were able to win in 3 straight sets to pick up the win over the Cougars.
Hey.
Yeah,
Charge on it.
Yes, there we go. And that is us running down the UCF scoreboard from this week. All right, and as the rivalry tensed up and heated up last week, as I was able to respond in the picks and pull off a victory last week, we shall find out who won this week. As we did talk about earlier in the show, our first game we picked was LSU at Florida. But as we did say, that game was postponed / canceled, so it was not played this weekend. So therefore, it cannot count into what we talked about. The second game that we did pick was Tennessee and Texas A&M, which Tennessee did live up to their cardiac kids at the end, coming back and being able to tie the game to go to overtime. But Texas A&M with a huge win in double overtime, 45-38.
Yeah, that was we both chose Tennessee, I
Yes, we
believe.
did.
So that one was a tough loss right there.
Yeah, and it looked like it was an exciting game, but Tennessee needs to knock it off with the turnovers in the first half.
Yeah.
Where imagine how great this team could be if they finish this strong and not put themselves behind 2 or 3 touchdowns in the first half. Could be a very dangerous team later on in the year as one SEC loss, especially in the grand scheme of the rankings. Just to Texas A&M, it's not a big loss to them, and I don't believe this affects them for their
For West,
division
yeah,
in the
it
SEC.
doesn't.
So they're they still have a solid line so far to be able to make it to the SEC championship game. So as it is a tough loss, as it was still a big top 10 matchup game, I don't think this will hurt Tennessee too much in the long run.
No, not at all. I believe they can still probably make the playoffs if they were to win out.
Yeah, I would say so. As we always say, like with that bias of a Power 5 conference team, which is the SEC, Big 12, is ACC,
Pac-12.
Pac-12, and I'm forgetting in the Big 10.
Yeah, there we go.
As any of those teams, normally the champion of that, mainly the SEC, normally that's kind of like an automatic bid in a sense, even though it isn't, but it may as well be. And the game that decided it between us, Florida State and Miami, which was the big primetime game on Saturday, and FSU ended up pulling it out by blocking what would have been a game-tying extra point attempt at the end of the game for the victory.
Yeah, before any of this talking begins, I want to say this week was invalid due to a cancellation of that last game. So we are still tied 1-1.
Oh, okay.
Just for future.
But we'll let the viewers decide for themselves. Out of the 2 games we picked, I won. I won because I picked Florida State. So therefore, that is 1-0. If we don't count the game that we tied, 1-0.
Yeah.
So that's 2 wins, and it increases my win category or win totals 2-1 right now. There you go. It definitely was quite the college football ending, as we have seen this year. The great finishes have lived up to the hype as the year's gone on.
Most definitely.
Well, nothing will quite ever match up to Tennessee and Georgia. There were some awesome, exciting finishes, like Tennessee again with Texas A&M, and even Florida State picking up what won't be a spoiler for Miami, but at least for like a program and a fan base in Florida State that eased a lot of minds because they were starting to get a little worried.
Most definitely.
Because as I did talk about last week, Florida State losing 3 in a row is tough to look at, especially 2 in a row is hard to look at. And then to pick up 3 losses in the Big East, goodness, the ACC.
Yeah.
That's tough for a Miami, a Florida State team to do because they're normally just such a great program, and Jimbo Fisher does do so well.
Yeah, they usually always win out ACC. So to see them lose in the ACC is...
but it will be interesting to see how Miami bounces back from this because 1 loss isn't going to kill them. But it should be interesting to see because Clemson is still kind of hanging around here as they did quietly have a very good week. Who do they play, though? I'm going to look up because I don't know. I wasn't impressed with Clemson against Louisville. They played Boston College. That was a Friday or a Thursday game. I think a Friday game. Clemson ended up winning 56-10. I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not very sold on Clemson, and I think that there will be a team like a Miami that'll end up tripping them up, and they still have to play Florida State as well. Yeah, so those will be big games for the outcome of the ACC.
I don't think it'll be Miami, but I think maybe FSU.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see. And from the American Athletic Conference standpoint, they still did have games this weekend, even though UCF did not play. Biggest upset probably of the week was Navy pulling off, I think, their first win over an AP top 10 ranked team since like the 80s.
Yeah, 32 years.
Knocking off number 6 Houston, who was, if they had kept winning out, would have been easy favorites to win the whole AAC.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
And what that does is it makes the conference
wide open.
So it makes even I'm not going to throw UCF into that consideration, but from a standpoint of looking at UCF this week, they didn't play and they won in a sense because a lot of these teams, like even USF, that like their win against East Carolina, even though I mean UCF's able to do it, so it's not that hard, and that a lot of teams that even if they didn't play, that are looking a little bit better in the conference this year, they won with Houston losing because
most definitely.
It'll be interesting how Houston responds because this bounced them back and made the conference just up for grabs for anyone to come and do. And it'll be interesting to see is South Florida, because this is kind of the year where I think they wanted to say, we're going to make a statement. And to see whether or not they're able to take advantage of this loss We'll find out. But it definitely was, the landscape very much changed for the conference this week.
Yeah, we'll see if Houston can bounce back from that. If not, and they take another loss, it's wide open.
Yeah.
It's even more open.
My favorite then, even though I'm not a big fan of watching them. I think they're very big play reliant. I would then defer to South Florida. That would be my next up for who should take the conference, or
I mean,
ideally.
If UCF gets South Florida, then who knows?
I mean, yeah, if UCF's able to keep rolling and we're able to pick up these wins in the conference, then heck yeah. Like, no, it's doable then, because especially if Houston does have another loss, and if that loss is able to be UCF, that puts them in a nice tiebreaker situation. But got to do it. And that's why it's a lot of fun to talk about, and that's what Houston ended up doing this weekend with this loss. Because I mean, Navy, like, come on, like Navy just runs the ball. That's it. They're exclusively
they have that little League T thing.
So, but then again, Navy had a big year last year with Keenan Reynolds. He had a great season. A lot of Heisman talks for him, but there were a lot of other just a little more talented guys. But numbers-wise, he was definitely up there with a lot of Heisman candidates. So it'll just be interesting to see, because Houston could have silenced a lot of people with continuing into American Athletic Conference play, but left that door open, because a lot of teams like a UCF, like a South Florida, are going to be thinking, hey, like, this is up for grabs now. This is doable, because it looked like goodness that Houston was just going to steamroll everyone this year. So having this hiccup is just going to they're not going to be as scary in that sense. So as Houston, this loss hurt a lot more than what would just happen on the scoreboard.
For sure. Well, and looking at next week's picks.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on. We'll move on to next week.
Looking at next week's winning week, I'd like to call for myself.
Oh, okay.
There's going to be a big one between UNC and Miami.
Yeah, that should be a good game. As to see that, I think North Carolina did win this past week. I think they beat Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech won that game.
Virginia Tech won, beat North Carolina? Goodness. Okay. Oh, yeah. Here it is. Oh, goodness. Did they win?
Yeah.
34-3? Goodness. Well.
But then UNC beat Florida State. So
what is UNC doing? They basically just, like, ruined that Florida State win.
Yeah.
Because if they were going to assert themselves in the ACC, that wasn't the way to do it. Oh, goodness. That's awful. So it'll be interesting to see how North Carolina ends up
playing against Miami.
Ends up responding about this, because this is going to be a week that they're going to either disappear from contention for anything.
To be honest, it's a week for both teams to disappear or something, because both of them are trying to respond from a loss.
A second loss for Miami is not good, because it starts to see because we'll see whether or not North Carolina stays ranked. But for two top 30 teams that they finally did play, and the losses start coming out, that's going to end up hurting their rankings big time, and you're not going to be able to climb back from that.
So you tell me, Miami or UNC?
I'm going to go Miami. Miami has to. North Carolina, I would have been behind them if I thought they had beaten Virginia Tech, but if coming off that huge of a week weren't able to do it against Virginia Tech, then no, Miami.
I'm going to say UNC.
Really?
I'm going to say UNC for the W.
Oh, yeah, because you want to be able to conflict on me with picks? All right.
Another big one is Alabama-Tennessee.
That should be interesting. As Tennessee, it's not necessarily do or die for them, because as we did talk about earlier for Tennessee, that they just need to be able to get to the championship game. And so this could be a good week to kind of have a litmus test of sorts to see, how do we stack up against Bama? Because Bama definitely is going to they're going to have the West. I can't see, I don't see a team that's going to beat them, because they dismantled Arkansas. Which was supposed to be a grudge match, just an intense game, and it wasn't, because Alabama's been Alabama this year. So this would be an important game, not for Tennessee to win, but to kind of figure out what they can do well against Alabama, as it may end up becoming useful if they play them in the SEC Championship later in the season.
That's definitely. So who do you take in that one?
I'm going to take Bama. Yeah. I like Tennessee, and I'm behind them, because even though I think that they just stop turning over the ball and they can have a really good year, I'm not going to pick against Bama this year.
Yeah, I've lost a lot of money in the last 4 years betting against Bama.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
They're just too good. They really are. It's been impressive because they have, I don't know, it's not a freshman quarterback, but a first-year starter at quarterback, and they're better than they were last year because Coker it was his first year at Bama, or was his second? I don't know, but it was like his first like full year of starting, and even like there was talk about him not being able to start the rest of the year. But thankfully, he was just a like veteran presence as he did as a transfer. Yeah, as him being able to be a guy that at Florida State did see some reps and everything, and was able to get some experience that was helpful in helping Alabama get the title last year. So, but that they were able to get a new starter and get better, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
and so I just can't see not picking them, honestly.
That's about all the Big Ten matchups we have. We do have Ole Miss and Arkansas.
No. There is a big game you missed.
What's that?
That's going to be the game we're going to talk about. Ohio State and Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, no, there's got to be something because I remember hearing about it. But that'll be our third game we'll do.
Oh, I'm definitely going Ohio State. That's
I know you like Ohio State.
Yeah.
So that's not much of a thing for you. I don't know. Like I don't want to pick Wisconsin. I haven't seen any Ohio State this year. I did see Indiana gave him a fight yesterday, so it wasn't as much of a cakewalk. I don't know. I think Ohio State is dynamic enough on offense for that to be able to be the difference. I'm going Ohio State.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that'd be great for Wisconsin if they're able to do that, but they just have to do something on offense, and they just didn't do that against Michigan. But Michigan does have a very good defense with Jabril Peppers and whatnot, as he did have offense, a huge week
I saw that.
as they played Rutgers. But, I mean, I'm going Ohio State. But it should be an awesome game that I definitely will be
I will be watching that.
All right, and before we get out of here this week, we will do final thoughts with James and Ogarth, and I will go first this week. My quote is from G.K. Chesterton. Poets have been mysteriously silent on the subject of cheese.
Okay. My quote comes from actually one of my friends.
Oh, okay.
It says, so we've been hearing like the Amber Alert and all that, people getting kidnapped. So it says, the more that you weigh, the harder you are to kidnap. Stay safe, eat cake.
that is pretty good.
Yeah, but make sure you guys check out all homecoming festivities.
Yes, there's a lot of awesome stuff going on this week with movie night, comedy night, concert night. They'll have fireworks this Friday. Spirit Splash on Friday during the day, and then to wrap it all up with the homecoming game against Temple.
Yeah, I know we don't have a homecoming dance, but if you want to find a rad date and have a rad date.
Right there.
Find a rad date, have a rad date.
Yeah. So definitely be a good UCF student and enjoy all the fun festivities.
Yeah, you still can buy tickets if you didn't get free tickets.
Yeah,
you
so
can
if you
always
definitely
buy.
are still wanting to, you can still attend these events as it is a lot of great stuff going on campus. But definitely go be a great night this week and enjoy all of that. And before we get out of here, we can thank everyone, OSI Podcasts out of UCF here in All Night Study. Thank Leland, our producer. Can thank Zoe, our studio director, who without her we would not be allowed in here.
Oh yeah, most importantly, charge on.
Charge on. All right, it's been another episode of the Jimmy T Podcast. See you next week.